Welcome to the dark side of BEASTwriter. I'm your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and today we're going to be breaking down the interior defensive tackles. I've been running grades on these college prospects over the past, starting in October and November, but really dissected it down on that positional unit. And the reason I did that is, look, we saw free agency. Obviously, if you guys follow me in the DOB, my first year covering the Raiders and coming from the Niners, you guys know how my thinking is when it comes to a GM's drafting philosophy, and then also complementing the missing role pieces within free agency, right? So again, we're going to talk about all those different dynamics, all those different parameters, and why GM Dave Ziegler is doing it his way, right? And so like I said, I'm a firm believer in building teams from the inside out, not the outside in. I think if you do it the other way around, you're doing yourself a disservice. So if you solidify the lines on both sides of the football, you're in better shape than more teams that are out there that think otherwise. Like, if this is kind of common sense, right? So we're going to go ahead and break it down as to which players are undervalued, which players are a little bit inflated, and which players are a scheme fit based on quote unquote the Raider way, something I talked about before they even talked about what the Raider way was. And you guys know how I feel about that, having a high football IQ, being tough, being physical. I mean, this time last year, I kind of laid down the foundation of what the Raider way was. And that's why I think everything that, when I say cross-check the Beast receipts, it holds true, right? So whether you follow me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything in between, the Beast receipts check out on what the Raider way actually entails. And so, again, we're going to peel back layers of the onion to really get to the core when we break down these interior defensive linemen when it comes to the Raider way here at 1475 Raiders headquarters. So let's go ahead and get started. I just want to say a special shout out. If you guys want to, my name, what's up, Jesus? Smash the like button, subscribe to all the social media platforms. Yes, that's in the description box below. So any video that I post up, if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be, all my social media is listed below, and it's at BEASTwriter. You can see it here that my man, what's up, G, who is one of the moderators here. He is actually trying to push that content for us, because at the end of the day, my job is to be on here. It's hard to do a lot of different things all at one time. So you're going to see other mods coming in here, just basically telling you guys to subscribe, like, and if you don't like it, then don't subscribe. Don't like it. I mean, that's cool. Just swipe left and don't watch me. But at the end of the day, if you want to know the future, you're going to want to watch me, right? If you want to know what other 31 other NFL teams, you're going to want to watch me. And the reason I say that is because, again, just hashtag Beast Receipt. It all checks out, right? Jimmy Garoppolo coming to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Beast Receipt. And people were laughing about that in real time. Like, nah, man, it's going to happen. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're not going to waste any more time. Spencer Bailey, thank you so much for the super chat. Also, some of you guys were wondering how you guys can donate. There is a Venmo link to the description box below here on YouTube. You can also send me a super chat or a super thanks on YouTube. Also, if you're watching on Facebook, there's a option now that you can give stars to me. Stars is just another way for you to say thank you and for supporting the work that I do. So all these different social media platforms, they can give you that outlet to go ahead and do so. So it's much appreciated, makes these worthwhile, and I hope to do more. And keeping a live segment and a live schedule, I think that's what we're I think that's kind of the trend that we're going towards in terms of having a set schedule. So we're going to do a Pick 6 at 6 live stream Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday will be what's called our Blitz Pickup. I did it with the Niners. So a Blitz Pickup is I'll have a special guest. You don't know who that guest is. Could be a player, could be a coach, could be a scout. You don't know what you're getting, but you know you're getting good content and good value content you will not otherwise find anywhere else on the web. We're also looking for sponsorships. So if you have a small mom and pop shop that you want to recommend, or you have a business that you want to sponsor the YouTube channel here with the Dark Side of BEASTwriter, shoot me a DM or shoot me a message. I'll be more than happy to explore those options with you, because I am looking for a sponsorship. I have a couple on the table, just kind of weeding out what direction I want to go in and go after the best offer, obviously. So that's going to be in play for 2023. There's a lot of things that are in the works in 2023 where we're launching our DLB swag. There's a lot of different things that we're doing. Look, we're going all out. Year one was just a trial run. Year two is kind of like a rookie going into the year two. You're going to see a lot of progress here, right? If you thought my rookie season was good, you haven't seen nothing yet. Transition from year one to year two, right? That's the biggest player's growth in terms of the development in the NFL. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. A lot of good things to talk about. Let's go ahead and bring up these banners here for you, right? So again, Spencer, thank you so much for the super chat. Really, really much appreciated. All right, so Jalen Carter, right? This is a guy that I've been high on since last year, right? And it's funny how I mentioned Jalen Carter and everything comes full circle when you run the landscape with the other 31 other NFL teams. Because when Bilal Nichols was signed by GM Dave Ziegler, people didn't even know who he was. Nation did not know who he was. Luckily, you had me. If you followed me from day one throughout training camp, I said Bilal Nichols is a really good player. I have grades. I graded every single snap of his. And some of their nation that didn't know who I was at first, like, oh, yeah, cool story. Like, who are you? And I was like, okay, well, this is what I see, right? And so the burden of proof falls on you. This game. I have these snap. And then they're like, okay, cool. Bilal Nichols. The reason I bring up Bilal Nichols because the same things that I saw in Bilal Nichols' game in terms of NFL traits with Jalen Carter, two vastly different players. But when you grade a guy like Bilal Nichols, who played with the Chicago Bears, right, under Ryan Pace, right, and then he was let go, and then you're playing alongside guys with Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith at the time before he was traded to the Baltimore Ravens. You're playing with guys like Robert Quinn. You're playing with guys like Alec Ogletree. You're playing with a lot of these guys who, in many eyes, they're valued players, right? Like a lot of these defensive front seven valued players, and Bilal Nichols stood out for me when running the game film. Same thing applies when I was watching the Georgia Products first round picks last year, or just NFL talent last year. One guy that stood up was Jalen Carter. He didn't even start last year, right? And so when you look at guys and you're going up against guys like Devontae Wyatt, you have guys like Darian Kendrick, you have guys on the back end there, like who else do we have up there? My man Nakobe Dean, obviously. We all know how I feel about my guy Nakobe Dean. But look, Jalen Carter made so many splash plays that his game just stood out, just like Bilal Nichols did, even though he was kind of like on the outside looking in terms of not being a household name, right? That's just kind of how it is. So Jalen Carter, this is what you get from Jalen Carter, right? Again, I ran his grades from last year, this year. He's 6'3", 314 pounds. In 2021, he graded out with a 6.6 grade out of 9 games that I graded him. And you guys got to remember, a lot of the games that he played in were like blowout wins, right? So like, it's kind of like you look at it and be like, oh man, like, can you really put a grade on it if he's not in that much, like based on the snap count? Because let's face it, if it's a blowout, you're not going to be playing, right? That's just the nature of the beast. So he's a good, what I saw from Jalen Carter was he's a good 2-down player, but pass rush is questionable. Like I will say that. And I say that because I don't see enough consistency in his game to warrant this guy being a true 3-down player. Now you can take a look at that and say, oh yeah, well, we see highlights of his game, clip ups of his game, and he can get to the quarterback, which he absolutely can. He's the second best defensive player in this entire draft class. I am not doubting that. That is a duh moment. Anybody who says that Jalen Carter is not the second best defensive player in this draft class, do yourself a favor, unfollow that person. Bad take. Jalen Carter is the real deal, right? And he really shined in my grading system from week 6 to week 8. And both 3 of those games in that 3-game span, he had what I would evaluate as NFL talented players, right? Comparisons, right? When you compare players from one conference to the next or one team to the next, you have to project, right? Yeah. My job is to project how a player is going to translate at the NFL level, right? And there's a lot of different layers to that. But when we look at weeks 6 through weeks 8, you really see that pass rush come through and shine through, right? Who did he play in those games, right? Who was he going up against? Well, he's going against the likes of like Auburn, Kentucky, and obviously Florida, and he racked up 2.5 sacks in my grading system, right? So the question that I have is not so much can Jalen Carter get it done, because we all know that he can, playing in the powerhouse SEC, being a 2-time national championship, and being not a household name last year, but still getting it done and making the presence. And I went on record. I was like, dude, Jalen Carter is way better than Devontae Wyatt, way better than some of these other defensive linemen that are coming out. And people are like, yeah, cool. He didn't even start. I'm like, okay, you're not watching the film, bro. But the question that I have with Jalen Carter comes back to this, and I said it before his pro day took place where he couldn't finish the drills. I said, I question his conditioning. That is a true concern. And if you're sitting there at 6'3", 314 pounds, or whatever the case may be, that's going to be a problem, right? Like conditioning will naturally be a problem, but some guys just have that high nonstop motor, right? At the end of the day, it's like you have to take that with a grain of salt, but then take that into account as well. All right. And then you circle back on that and be like, okay, that was 2021 beast. What did he do in 2022? Well, let's run the grades on that, right? So I ran the grades on 2022, graded out not a 6.6, but a 5.8. And that's in 6 games played. All right. So mind you, again, a lot of these were blowout wins. So it's kind of hard to decipher and put a grade next to a guy's name when he's not even playing. But there is cause for concern. Everyone's talking about the conditioning. Everyone's talking about other factors, the off-field issues, which we're going to talk about. But people don't realize he had a sprained MCL and he had an ankle injury last year that essentially knocked him out of the better part of 3 games last year. So is that a cause for concern? Absolutely. From a NASM trained person, I can tell you, yes, ACL, MCL injuries do in fact have an impact. Now, I'm not saying, oh, we shouldn't draft this guy at 7 because he had an MCL. No, I'm not saying that. He's the best player on the board. Odds are you would take that player. But he is a good plug-and-play run stuffer, right? Aside from the injury history, he makes others better. He kind of brings that Aaron Donald mentality in terms of taking up, occupying double teams, triple teams, whatever the case may be, and then leaving his second-level linebackers clean. They don't have any grass stains on them. There's no dirt on them. Dirt off his shoulder. Nope, no dirt there. This is the dog mentality that you want down in the trenches, and he has a nasty mean streak. So I like this guy. I do like Jalen Carter, but it is a cause for concern because he did gain 9 pounds at his pro day. And I don't care what anyone says, 9 pounds is a lot of weight, especially if you're already at 314. Clocking at 314 at the NFL Combine, then you gain 9 pounds. You're at 323. How does that extra weight function? Does it work in your favor? Because if that's the case and you're trying to hit it at 323 and you have a problem with your conditioning, now from a scouting perspective or evaluation perspective, from my point of view, I'm looking at it and saying, hey, look, can he actually play at that weight? No, he can't, because he just proved that at his pro day. And the pro day is where you want to shine, because you guys remember he didn't really have a combine because of the off-field incident, right? Like he didn't have that time. So you would think like, okay, I'm going to this guy's pro day. I want to see how he's going to run. I want to see how high he can jump. I want to see if all these measurables check off the boxes of what I can confirm what I see on film. Unfortunately, that's not how it panned out. Like he couldn't finish the positional drills. Now, I'm not saying don't draft Jalen Carter because of one, but again, look, if you're on the game's biggest stage and you come in overweight and you can't finish the positional drills, that is red flags. And we're not even talking about the off-field stuff yet, right? So he did no cone drill, no 40 time. I mean, where's the competitive drive to kind of get that and power you through? I mean, we don't want to talk about checking off the boxes. You want to see, trust me, some executives would dock you if you don't play in the bowl game because they see it as it's not being competitive. Let's keep it 100 here. Now, like I said, I like Carter. He would be the best player available if available at number 7, which I tweeted out if you follow me on Twitter. But then when you plead no contest to reckless driving and racing, that is a cause for concern with all this off-field stuff that the Raiders been dealing with over the past, 2 years? Not last year, obviously, but the years prior to that. You guys know the Henry Ruggs. I mean, come on. Damon Arnett, the list goes on and on and on. Do you really want to go into a situation and have the media writing all about this? Jalen Carter's good, and then if for some foreseen reason, again, this is a big if, but if for some unforeseen reason, because you want to leave no stone unturned, that he has another issue, then the fans are going to be on Jalen Carter. People in the media are going to be on Jalen Carter and be like, look, he had the talent, but he did come with a red flag or multiple red flags. That's just one. Then you have the gaining weight. Then you have the not be able to stay in conditioning. Not just at his pro day. I seen it in this film. I talked about this before his pro day take place, like I said. So, like I said, I like Jalen Carter. If he's there sitting at 7, it's going to create a perfect storm for the Raiders. Would I take him? We're going to talk about that later. But I think Jalen Carter would be and create a perfect storm. I do like what I see on Jalen Carter's film. Again, the second best defensive player in this entire draft class. But the mindset for me is if I'm trying to build a Raider way and a team cultural identity that I want, I would rather have the safer pick. And safer doesn't necessarily always mean better, but the guy who's better doesn't always mean better either, right? I mean, you have football character, and then you also have off-field character. So the safer pick for me, while still filling the need, I like Peter Skoronski. Went on Raider Nation Radio, talked about Peter Skoronski there out of Northwestern. I like this kid. I like him a lot. So I would rather draft him, or I would rather draft Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon, the Colorado transfer. You guys know how I ran grades on him. Or trade down in a cluster of players I talked about on earlier live streams. Go after a guy like Nolan Smith, who I talked about before his pro day, and I said he's the guy to watch. And boom, Beast Receipt checks out. He was the guy to watch. If you haven't checked out my video on that, go timestamp and look at what I said about Nolan Smith before his pro day took place and what his measurables would be based on grading the snap, not the box score. And then double check on that with Brian Branch over on Twitter and what I had to say about Brian Branch. So I think both those guys would be good in that cluster if you were to trade down from 7 to that 12 to 18 range based on how I mock draft sees it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that can take place. So that's with Jalen Carter, right? 20 minutes in, we're talking about Jalen Carter. That's just one player. Now let's go ahead and talk about Kalijah Canty. A lot of people like Jalen Carter. I get it. I like Jalen Carter too. Jason Sire says we must go quarterback at pick 7. That way we have one half of our future defensive backs. All right. Robert Mooney says, Darth Vader, you don't know the power of the dark side. Phil Romero is in the house. He says, Beast, what are your first 7 picks in this year's draft? Well, it all depends on the mock draft, right? I see so many mock drafts just based on the team that they're covering. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy, and each round. It's like, that's not how, I guess that's how you can do it. But for me, I like to look at the other 31 other NFL teams and see what they're doing to see if that player is actually going to be available when you're on the clock. That's how I like to do it. So that's why when I format my mock drafts and say this player in this round, this player, this round, this player, there's a lot of different parameters that go into formulating my mock draft. That's how I like to do it. And so I cannot tell you right now, just being totally transparent, without doing the legwork on the other 31 teams that are drafting ahead, with the trades coming up, with free agency still in its core, right? There's still, where's Odell Beckham Jr. going to be, right? So all these things kind of play out. I will tell you this: I will release my Raiders mock draft, and that will be coming up just days before the draft. And the reason I do it days before the draft or the day before the draft is simply because I need to gather all the intel that I need to formulate my analysis. I don't do clickbait. I don't do like 5,000 different mock drafts. Oh, the way too early mock draft of 2038. It's useless. It's useless. My opinion, though, but hey, to each their own. But I just don't want. I don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want to waste my own time. Like, I don't like it. I don't like doing that. Like, when I come on, you guys know what you're getting. You guys getting like legit exclusive content found nowhere else on the web, because I watched the film. I have the grades, my own grades. Everybody can have grades, but I have my own grading system. I go on, hop on, and I leave my Beast receipts here. Timestamped March 28th, 2023. BEASTwriter said this leading up to the draft, right? Now, things change leading up to the draft, but as it currently stands, based on the draft positions and teams drafting ahead, that's where I see it going. All right. Abraham Raider says, salute Beast. What's going on? Arkham Raider says, salute Raider Nation. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about a little bit. We have a lot of questions coming here. I get it. We have a lot of questions coming in here hot. I'm going to get to all these questions. I know there's a lot of Facebook questions. If you're on Facebook, do yourself a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Everyone is on YouTube. It's the second biggest social media platform on there outside of Facebook, but who's on Facebook anymore? I guess there's people on Facebook that are watching, but more times than not, it's like YouTube and then Twitter. Those are the two primary ones that work for me or Instagram as well. Instagram is working for me as well. But yeah, follow me on all those social media platforms. All right, let's go ahead and look about Kalijah Canty. I'm not as high on this guy as other people. Now, I'm not saying he's not good. He's good. This guy is good. He's a quick twitch muscle fiber guy. He's a smaller defensive tackle, right? So Kalijah Canty out of Pittsburgh, 6'1", 281 pounds, right? And I went back and graded film, not just on 2022. I'm going to go back in 2021, right? So what I see from Kalijah Canty, where he graded a 4.3 out of a 10, which is not very good. All right, when you grade the snap, not the box score. Now I could put up clip-ups and make them look really good. Better than, you put clip-ups of me of all my Beast receipts that I got right, not the ones I got wrong. I would look, oh man, this guy, you got to follow this guy. But come on, let's keep it 100. I don't get every Beast receipt right. Just like Kalijah Canty doesn't have every run fit assignment in play. Like, there's mistakes there, right? There's some mistakes there. So when you go back and grade 8 games like I did of Kalijah Canty, right? And again, I like him. he is a scheme-dependent guy. I see a one-gap type of penetrator. I don't see a guy who can play that 4 technique heads up on the offensive tackle and then being able to have a two-way go based on the leverage that he sees from box to spill and run support. I just don't see that. Now, what does that all mean? That means that he's scheme dependent. He's not scheme diverse like some of these other guys I'm going to talk about who are not as highly hyped up as a Kalijah Canty. Now, the second thing that just really irritates me is people comparing him to Aaron Donald because he played that pit and he's undersized. Look, you guys that follow me, all you Niner fans have been following me since covering the San Francisco 49ers. You guys know how I felt about Aaron Donald before he came out. He was ranked number 5 on my big board. I thought this guy was going to be I didn't think he was going to be that good. But I said this guy's going to be a Pro Bowl player possibly in year 1. And then obviously got my vote along with Chris Borland for PFWA. But Aaron Donald and Kalijah Canty are 2 different types of specimens in terms of their NFL traits and what they bring to the table. Why? Because Aaron Donald could actually hold the point of attack and creating space for others, and then also has an interior rush where he can kind of go ahead and get to the quarterback in a hurry. Kalijah Canty relies a lot more on his speed to get by because he's a one-gap type of a dude. All right? So aside from that, Kalijah Canty gets thrown off his grass. Especially on those combo reach blocks when I'm grading the film, he gets kind of pushed off his grass and moved off his grass, which makes me believe a 4-3 team is going to draft him. All right? So mark that down. Check off that Beast receipt. A 4-3 team is going to draft Kalijah Canty. So that's going to leave out teams like the Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, and all those odd man front guys. All right? The question remains to be seen, what kind of grade do I have on Kalijah Canty? Right? Look, sometimes Kalijah Canty gets washed out on run plays. That just goes without saying. And I'm not saying I don't like Kalijah Canty. He's a number 3 ranked defensive tackle in my grading system. So yes, Kalijah Canty is very good, but there are flaws to his game, right? There are flaws to his game. The one thing I do like about Kalijah Canty is his lateral agility, right? I love his one gap ability to shoot the opposite gaps, whether it be A, B gap, whatever the case may be, in the opposite run fit. I like that. The guy can get it done. So if you're looking for, the wide 9, I know they signed Javon Hargrave, but the San Francisco 49ers, if they don't have a first round pick, but look, John Lynch can wheel and deal. They have Javon. Well, what's going to happen with Javon Kinlaw? They got to pick up his 5th-year option? What I said about Javon Kinlaw when he got drafted. Check the Beast receipts. I'm not going to rehash that. But Beast receipt checks out. Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead in the middle. You get a rotational guy like Dante Stills or someone like that I'm going to be talking about. Look, there's a lot of good interior defensive linemen that can be had in any given round. But if I was to put a grade on Kalijah Canty, which I am, I have a round 2 grade on Kalijah Canty. I don't have a round 1 grade. I have a round 2 grade on Kalijah Canty in any given draft. And the reason I say that is because he has great lateral agility, but his ability of being scheme dependent in a one-gap scheme while not really finding a home as a run-fit integrity guy scares me. It scares me. Now, can you coach up this guy to kind of play with sound technique, sound leverage, being able to ID the ball carrier at the point of attack, and then obviously knowing which way to shed the block based on your second-level backers behind you and how they play? Yes, but that takes time. That takes time, just like with any other player. So again, I don't want to put him too much under the microscope. I do like Kalijah Canty, for the record, my number 3 ranked interior defensive tackle, but I am not as high on him as others. Now watch him be an all-pro. Watch him be a Hall of Famer. Prove me wrong, Kalijah Canty. I hope I'm wrong. That's just not what I see. So that's what I see from Kalijah Canty. Now people are going to put this up and be like, oh man, Philmer said, what's your take on Jordan Willis? Talked about him on last live stream. Go ahead and peep that out. I talked about Jordan Willis on the last live stream, so don't want to talk about stuff that I already talked about, but Jordan Willis was a guy I was really high on. Talked about it on the last Pick 6 live stream, so if you want to go ahead and check that out, I strongly encourage you to do so because Jordan Willis was a guy that, again, I covered with the San Francisco 49ers. I talked about the trade when the trade happened, and, if you just want to shoot what I had to say in real time back in 2020, just go ahead and type in Jordan Willis here on YouTube and then type in BEASTwriter. So Jordan Willis, BEASTwriter, my video will pop up and you'll know everything I had to say in real time once the trade was made as he was shipped off to the San Francisco 49ers. All right. But thank you so much for Omar. I appreciate the question. Jason Sahir, our true needs are quarterback, linebacker, strong safety, defensive tackle. So basically defense. There's 40 of us watching right now that I can see on StreamYard. So just give this video a thumbs up if you like what I have to say. Also, if you would like to send me a donation here on the YouTube channel, you can send me a super thanks or super chat. It'd be greatly appreciated. Definitely makes this worthwhile. And everything that gets donated back into the BEASTwriter family here in the DOB gets funneled back to you with our giveaways. If you guys don't know, we are running giveaways for everyone that subscribes to the channel here on YouTube, follows me on Twitter, follows me on Instagram. So we are running giveaways for everyone that follows me on all those respective social media platforms. All right. Look. Spencer Bailey says, thoughts on Niners versus Raiders joint practice? That seems like throwing gasoline on a fire. You know what? It is. It is. And obviously, you Niner fans are chiming in, asking for my thoughts on how I feel about the Raiders-Niners joint practice. And I'm like, hey, it's cool, man. Look, people didn't know. Well, people knew, but not like everyone, right? So not everyone knew that I covered the Raiders until New Year's Day. And people are like, oh, because the Niners are playing the Raiders, obviously. Oh, I was wondering what happened. How come you're not talking? It's like, man, what do you think I was talking about? Like, it was silver and black all day, every day in 2022. And so then people were like, oh, man, he joined the dark side. And I told you, I said this on Twitter. I lost thousands of followers on Twitter, thousands of followers on Instagram, thousands of followers on hundreds actually on Facebook. Which is funny because Facebook out of all three, you would think would be the biggest, but it's really kind of went the other way. But no, it's funny. And then now people are like that they know. They're like, oh, how do you feel about this? Because the loyal ones like you, Spencer, you guys still with me. So I do have a lot. I'm not saying that everyone fell off. There's a lot of you guys that still support me and no matter what team I cover. But no, I like it. I like it. I think you can't let the past dictate your future, right? You can't let the past dictate your future. And so when it comes to the rivalry between the Raiders and the 49ers, I think it's something that will always be there, right? And so it's like, at this point, it's all like water under the bridge. And for me, no pun intended, Bay Bridge or Golden Gate Bridge. No, but in all honesty, I think it's a good thing. I'm excited. Like, I'm excited for having a joint practice. I'd be excited. It gives me a chance to catch up with my coworkers, or former coworkers, gets me a chance to catch up with a lot of people. So I'm all on board. And I still have 49 fans that follow me, even though the majority now are Raider Nation. So it's great. Leonard Villafuerte says, do you think we'll take a chance on Jalen Carter or will the Raiders pass? That is a great question. Look, I like Peter Skoronski. If he's on the board and Jalen Carter's on the board, I would rather have Peter Skoronski. Now, that's not to say that Jalen Carter's not just as good, if not the better BPA. But if you're looking at the horizontal board versus the vertical board, then cross-checking the two on this year's cream of the crop draft class, I think it would be a mirror image of the two based on Trench's talk. So with that being said, I would rather them. What I would do and what they're going to do is two totally separate things. But when I form them a mock draft, again, it's always based on how I see the draft actually playing out, not what I would do as the armchair GM. But no, sitting right now, I think Peter Skoronski is their guy. As of today on March 28th, 2023. A lot happens leading up to the day of the draft. So that's going to obviously change more probably. Or maybe not. Time will tell. I think Peter Skoronski is a guy that, again, I like a lot. He can be an offensive tackle. Talked about it with Daniel Jeremiah, right? We both see basically a Pro Bowl guard. But if he was to kick out and play offensive tackle, he can do that too. Now, he played mainly the blind side. So can he play on the right side with Colton Miller there? I mean, that's a game of musical chairs that we're going to have to explore once that takes place. And again, I spoke with enough swing tackles that tell me it is a big difference moving from the left side to the right side because everything's opposite. What if you're right-handed or left-handed? What if you're goofy-footed? Your angle sets, pass sets, and vertical sets are going to be off. So, Yes. I like Peter Skoronski. I also like Jalen Carter. I also like Christian Gonzalez. Here we go. Hopefully we sign Jalen Carter, Christian Gonzalez at 7, Drew Sanders at 38. I like Drew Sanders. Roll Tide, roll Drew Sanders. Oh, just joking. He transferred to Arkansas. You know who I really like? Speaking of roll tide roll, I know this is forward thinking. Cool story, bro. I really like Dallas Turner, number 15. This guy from Alabama is the real deal. If you're looking for a pass rusher, wait until next year's draft. Just joking. He's not better than Will Anderson, but he's good. Jason Sahir says Gonzo is a bigger need than Sanders at 38. That is very true because they have Robert Spillane there. My guy, Robert Spillane, who I asked because I graded him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when he subbed in for Devin Bush week 6 against the Cleveland Browns back in 2020, I said, hey, you have the green dot. And then people on Twitter like, oh, he already said that he was playing with the green dot. I'm like, yeah, did you see the question? Did you watch the video? I think I would know because I asked the question. But I didn't say that. I was just like, okay, this guy just, they on Twitter, they just like it or they don't like it, but they don't watch the video. It's like, watch the video. I just leave it blank because it is what it is. Jason says, we're still developing Butler and Neil Farrell. That is very true. That is very true. But let's go ahead and talk about, again, there's 39 of you guys watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what I have to say. And if you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I don't care. It helps the algorithm either way. Shows people that you're interested. I'm pretty sure I have people that don't like it. Not very many, but it happens. And that's okay. Not everyone's going to like the flavor that we bring here in the DOB. Just a different flavor. All right, let's go ahead and talk about defense attack. My friend, Dante Stills. We had him on here on the DOB exclusive interview. If you guys don't know who Dante Stills is, again, the East-West Shrine Bowl was here in Vegas. I had the opportunity to meet these guys for a whole week. For a whole week. Watch them in practice. Watch how they prepared to practice. Watched the minute details of the evaluation process leading up to that big game. And if you notice, who did I interview? I interviewed all the biggest players who made the biggest plays on game day. Trey Dean out of Florida. Dante Stills. Jose Ramirez, who had the fastest 3-cone drill of that positional unit at the NFL Combine at Eastern Michigan. Nehemiah Shelton came with a big INT, who is, by the way, my boy Nehemiah Shelton from San Jose State from the 408 is going to be on this DOB live stream and the Blitz pickup coming up. So stay tuned for that. We're keeping it hot here with these college prospects. I'm telling you. A lot of talk on Dante Stills. He was the talk of the town leading up to the draft. Oh, sorry, not leading up to the draft because we're still leading up to the draft. Leading up to the Shrine Bowl game. And him, Jose Ramirez, a few other guys. I mean, these guys were just, scouts were just salivating over these guys. Dante Stills would be a perfect fit for the Raiders. I like this guy. And people are asking me, Dante Stills, and I put up some clip-ups of his game, made a little highlight reel that y'all guys all come to live. If you guys haven't seen it, just type in Dante Stills, BEASTwriter, and YouTube search engine, and that's basically how you do it. If you want to know anything I had to say, check out my Beast receipts, I like to call them. Just go to YouTube, just type in BEASTwriter, and type in what you're looking for in the search box on YouTube. You'll find everything you want to know. All right, so Dante Stills, who is Dante Stills out of West Virginia? 6'4", 286. He's scheme diverse, a little bit different from Kalijah Canty in that he's not scheme dependent. He's scheme diverse. He can play in a 3-4 front. He can play in a 4-3 base. Talked about the techniques that he played on. You know, he can play a 1-tech, 2-tech, 0-tech, 3-tech, 4-tech, 5-tech, 1,000-tech. This guy can play the piano along the defensive line. This guy's a beast at the point of attack. He can take on double teams, freeing up his second-level backers behind him. I mean, this guy's really good. He has a strong good get-off, has pretty good, decent hand usage at the point of attack, can ID the ball carrier, something that I saw in Kalijah Canty's game that he kind of struggled with, and run fit integrity. I like Dante Stills. Obviously, as a legacy, his father played in the NFL. You guys know who he is. Talked about him on the live stream. Again, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Dante Stills, BEASTwriter, just type that in and you'll see what I have to say about him. But his pass rush does need work, right? I'm not saying this guy is like, oh my gosh, this guy, right? There's always flaws in anyone's game. And for me, it comes down to his pass rush. I think he gets stalled on certain times. when he doesn't have that initial get off to win with that speed and convert that to power. So he does get stalled at times, but I really like Dante Stills. If I would put a grade on him, I would give him a day 3 pick. But now a late day 2, maybe day 3 pick. So I see late 3rd. And if you can find him in the 4th, 5th, you're getting a diamond in the rough. I really like Dante Stills. Piggybacking on that, it's not in the banner, but Brian Brissy, he's a guy who I liked as a true freshman. You guys know how I felt about him coming out of Clemson. But he had some injury history as well. So Brian Brissy is a guy who you kind of look at this guy and be like, okay, there's NFL traits that we look for and he can really get it done, but can he stay healthy? I mean, that's a huge question mark for any GM or any scouting department to really go through that legwork and see whether or not this guy can stay healthy, right? I do like Brian Brissy, but it's a small sample size based on the film study that I got, and durability is a concern, which leads me to Karl Brooks. Karl Brooks is a guy that was kind of been on my radar. I've been trying to get some grades on him. When I hopped on Raider Nation Radio, listener asked, he's like, hey, I follow you on Twitter, and I want to know your take on Karl Brooks. And so that I couldn't see what was asking, but Raider Nation host Clay there, he's like, oh yeah, there's a question for you about Karl Brooks, and I was like, oh, what I think about Karl Brooks out of Bowling Green? I like this kid, right? So when I graded his snap counts and graded his every single snap that he played in, that I could get my hands on, he's scheme diverse, just like Dante Stills, right? This guy is a guy that's 303 pounds. He's not the biggest guy, but then he moves really well. He can play the piano just like Dante Stills along the defensive line. He has a strong bull rush at the point of attack. You really look for an interior rusher. Usually they just have a fastball that Andrew Billings talks to me about, right? Like, what's his fastball? Andrew Billings, who's now with the Chicago Bears, and Ryan Poles. He said it was his fastball, and his fastball was that bull rush, right? And so usually an interior bigger guy, that's all he has. Just has Oxman strength and just wins with power. But this guy's a little different. He's a little slippery for a bigger guy. He's a little bit of a dancing bear, if you will, out of Bowling Green. Obviously, it wasn't FBS talent, but Bowling Green ain't bad, bro. Like, I like Bowling Green. I like these kids. I shouldn't say FBS. It's more like Power 5. Anytime you compare the Power 5 to anything, that's like the baseline. So he doesn't play in a Power 5 conference, but the guy's a beast. Like, I like him. He has a nonstop motor, has violent hands, has really good at using his upper body strength, converting that speed to power. Has a pass rush arsenal that is rarely seen from a guy on the interior like that. Again, he's a slippery dancing bear. Like, as Mike Mayock would say, he's a dancing bear. What does that mean? What's a dancing bear? Well, just turn on the film. The guy dances. People, oh no, he's a dancing panda. If I was to put a grade on this guy, I would give him a day 3 pick. I don't see a 2nd round grade. I don't see a 3rd round grade in any given draft because I need to see more. But I do like what I see on film. I think he would be a really good fit for the Raider Nation. All these guys would be good fits for the Raider Nation. That includes Kalijah Canty, obviously. But I see a guy that will likely go in round 3 and round 4 of this draft simply because the horizontal board checks out. Like, if you look at the horizontal board, this defensive draft class, when it comes to the interior defensive tackles, a lot of depth, good players can be had in rounds 3 to 5. That otherwise in any other given draft, I think some of these guys are, it's not as top heavy, but there is diamonds in the rough in those later rounds. And so, case in point, Karl Brooks would be a really, really good player for the Las Vegas Raiders. I really like him. But with that being said, I mean, we're breaking down all these guys. Look, we're 43 minutes in, and we're talking about all these interior defensive tackles, right, in the draft. But one guy that no one really talks about, and I put this up on Twitter, Kyle Peko. Kyle Peko was a guy that basically got cut, got brought onto the practice squad, and then was active and then really shined when given the opportunity. Kyle Peko, to me, is a guy that should be re-signed by the Las Vegas Raiders. Talked about it on Raider Nation Radio. You see the Raiders re-sign all these players. Why not Kyle Peko? When you turn on the film, Kyle Peko gets it. And remember, I talked to Coach. If you guys follow me, or if you're new to follow me, go check out what I had to say about Kyle Peko when I asked Coach Graham about Kyle Peko. Again, if you guys want to check that out after this live stream concludes, all you guys got to do is just search my channel and type in Kyle Peko BEASTwriter. Stuff will pop up, or Kyle Peko or Patrick Graham BEASTwriter. Stuff will pop up. Coach Graham likes Kyle Peko. Why? Because he's very disciplined. He is very sound in his run fits. He can get after the quarterback in a pinch. He is a run-stuffing interior lineman. But the guy just gets it done. Like, if you watch Kyle Peko play, there is no doubt in my mind that he would make the 53 if he was signed today. And again, I like Matthew Butler. I like Neil Farrell. Again, if you guys go back and check the Beast receipts, what I had to say about Neil Farrell, my good friend coached him at LSU. He also played for the Patriots and the Raiders, and Andre Carter, Pro Bowl talent. I asked Andre Carter, my guy, who's going to hop on this Blitz pickup as well. So you guys go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or you're going to miss out on some very insider information. I'm joking. People are like, oh, cool story, bro. No, but truth be told, kind of is true. He called him a lighter Vince Wilfork. And I talked to Andre Carter. I was like, are you kidding me? You think this guy's going to be a lighter Vince Wilfork? And he said, yeah. And I was like, okay. He's like, I know you're a Roll Tide Roll fan. Go check out the Alabama game. Like, I knew he was going to bring that up because Neil Farrell had a really good game. And look, I like Neil Farrell a lot. I think this guy, too many people overlook guys like Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler. But at the end of the day, I need to see more from these guys. And we've seen what we got from Kyle Peko. You know what you're getting. So if iron sharpens iron mentality holds true. And I said this on Twitter already. There's another team that is linked to Kyle Peko right now, and that's the New York Jets. The New York Jets are looking to sign Kyle Peko just as much as the Raiders are looking into it as well. So, you know what Robert Saleh, San Francisco 49ers. Oh, you don't think he knows D-line? Come on now. So if he sees talent in Kyle Peko, obviously GM Dave Ziegler sees talent in Kyle Peko. Obviously, he wouldn't be on the team this year. They really need Kyle Peko back. If there's one guy that needs to be resigned, it's Kyle Peko. That was on the team last year, is Kyle Peko and Jerron Harmon. I like both those guys that are left unsigned. Now, Rocket Sin is not coming back. Brandon Faishon's there. You have Nate Hobbs, and obviously they're going to draft a quarterback in the draft. So the depth chart runs thin. But it goes without saying, if you don't know what you have or don't have, you got to play these guys, right? Something that I talked about on earlier live streams. If you're new to follow me, again, all these things hold true. 4 or 5 months, 2 years, these videos cross-check in real time to hindsight. So you'll know, like what I say about Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler, what was it, week 11, week 13? You have to know what you have or don't have. You have to give these guys reps. Otherwise, how can you go into the draft or offseason not knowing what you have or don't have? So anyways, that's what I got to say. I think Kyle Peko should be resigned. I'm on record saying it multiple occasions. I think they need to bring him back. All right. If you have a question, send me a super chat and super sticker. I'm getting a lot of these comments coming through. So if you guys see that, it'll be pushed to the top and I can answer that question for you. Now, we have some other things that we want to talk about, right? So we talked about Brian Bursey. We had Raul Suarez ask about Brian Bursey at a defensive tackle out of Clemson. Raider Chaos, he's like, who is the corner in the draft? Was that? I don't know what that means. Who is the corner in the draft? I like Christian Gonzalez. I also like Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. Now, I got to be real with you guys. I need more film on Devin Witherspoon. I'm trying to get that. I'll get that over to you. But from what I saw of him, I like Devin Witherspoon a lot. The guy's aggressive. He has that swagger that you want from that boundary cornerback. I like him. Also like Christian Gonzalez. I like that height, weight, speed. A little bit longer type of a guy. On to Six Solar says, Beast, thoughts on the Purdue quarterback that I covered at the East-West Shrine Bowl that also is getting a lot of interest from the Las Vegas Raiders. Ooh. If I'm being 100% honest, I ain't see anything special with with O'Connell. That's not, I mean, to be honest with you, if I did, I would have interviewed him, right? Or tried to interview him. But I'm not saying he's not good. Maybe I'm just a bad talent evaluator when it comes to the quarterback situation. I didn't see anything spectacular in this game or anything that jumped out for me. So yeah, I can't. Now watch this guy be a Hall of Famer. Watch him being the next great Raiders quarterback, like a Rich Gannon. I honestly I didn't see anything great. Now, to be fair, I have to run more film on him because now that I know that eyes are on him, I'm gonna go back and watch the film and see, oh, well, B said this on March 28th, 2023. But I have to watch more film on him to see if what I'm saying right now holds up, right? If what I'm saying right now holds up, and again, it goes back to the film. I don't care about, and look, all this talk about the nation talk, oh, this guy ran a 4 blah blah 40. He can throw 60 yards, blah blah. Like he's 6'4", 380 pounds. Joking, but you guys get the picture. I don't care about all that. Yes, it's a piece of the puzzle. But the biggest piece to that puzzle is watching film and knowing what to look for. You can't just watch film without knowing what to look for. I mean, if you're watching a movie and you're finished the movie and you have no idea what the movie was about, then you just wasted your own time, 2.5 hours worth of film study. Like, come on. I already tweeted some stuff about this. So the nation that is saying, not you guys, but I'm saying there are people that are saying, oh, we should draft Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or whatever the case may be because of XYZ. And it's like, man, I don't care. I turn on the film. Now, are there traits that you can kind of coach up? That's what you kind of look for, right? Oh, he has a cannon for an arm. So did Jamarcus Russell. How'd that turn out? Oh, my gosh. Raider Nation Jason say Peko was a big dude. He is a big dude. He is. Look at Jeremy Willis says, I love Kyle Peko. He's a beast. He is. He's a beast on the field and off the field. Kyle Peko, one of my favorite players to evaluate simply because in the limited sample size to pull from, and anybody who picked competitive sports, right? I don't care if it was basketball, baseball, football, track, whatever the case may be. Well, track is whatever. Not whatever in terms of whatever, but whatever in terms of using it as in this analogy or whatever you want to call it. Look, it's hard to get into a rhythm. You guys know where I'm going with this. It's hard to get into a rhythm if you're constantly being rotated in. Why? Because every other snap, you don't get a feel from the other opponent. You don't get warmed up. You don't have the muscle memory to see how you want to play the next play based on down and distance because, again, you're being rotated every so often. Look, every team has rotational players, but there's some staples that defensive line coach will use in certain situations. For me, again, it goes back to this. I like Kyle Peko. Kyle Peko is a beast. Turn on the film. He is arguably outside of Andrew Billings and Bilal Nichols, okay? In my grading system, he was the third best interior defensive tackle in my grading system. Now, again, I run grades on the other 31 other NFL teams, right? So let's look at the landscape of the other 31. Look at the third best interior defensive tackles on those other 31 other NFL teams, and then get back to me on how good or bad Kyle Peko is when you grade the snap, not the box score. Because let's face it, if you're playing in a 3-4 front, you're not going to be showing up in the box score. Why? Because you'll be two gapping a lot, freeing up the second level backers who make those solo tackles. Ask Robert Spillane. That would make up for the Billings departure. Yeah. Get him back. Raider Chaos says, I just want a tall and fast cornerback finally. We always get short guys. I'm short, so you're not going to want me as your beat writer. I'm only 5'5". I am vertically challenged. Look, for me, and truthfully, I think height does have a factor on it. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Just like anyone who says height doesn't matter, it matters. Trust me, I'm 5'5". It matters. But it's not the end all be all. Just like a guy, all right, you can run a 4.6, a 4.7, even the 4.82 40-yard dash. Okay, 4.82, that's like defensive lineman talk, right? 40-yard dash and be an off-ball linebacker and be one of the best tacklers in the NFL. Why? Because if you can understand how to read the snap before the snap is snapped, before the ball is snapped, before the snap is snapped, That's funny. Before the snap is snapped. Before the ball is snapped, then you kind of can cheat your split over, right? So when we talk about splits and pre-snap recognition from post-snap play, and I talk about this in my grading system, again, this is things that you look for when you evaluate the coach's film. College, high school, doesn't matter. And if you're smart enough to cheat one way, you're shaving off 2-3 tenths of a second right there, right off the bat. Because again, if you're on the opposite hash and then you cheat to the middle, that's already what, 2 to 3 yards, give or take, depending on how far you're going to play the strong side or the weak side, wherever you're lined up on. Let's keep it 100. So in a nutshell, yes, for the boundary quarterback position, if you're the Gil Brandt type of a deal and you say, hey man, you have to be 6'2", you have to be 205 pounds, otherwise you're considered light in the butt. Oh my gosh, dude, please. Again, how much do you guys think I weigh? I'm 5'5". How much do you guys think I weigh? All right. Muscle weighs more than fat. I mean, just putting it out there. Muscle weighs more than fat. How much you guys think I weigh? I'm 5'5". You guys seen what I post on social media, right? For my bodybuilding gains. Because I do bodybuilding. If you guys don't know, I bodybuild outside of just doing this as my 9 to 5. So how much do you guys think I weigh? And I will give you the answer. And then you're going to look at this and be like, oh man, so does the weight really matter? And I'm going to give you the answer as to why or why not. Unto Six Soldier says, Beast, who's one quarterback you don't want the Raiders to draft? The one quarterback I don't want the Raiders to draft, that's a tough call. And the reason I say it's a tough call, and I'll just be 100% transparent, it's because I haven't done enough film study on these other quarterbacks who are in like the 5 to 7 range. Look, we saw the Brock Purdy dynamic work, right? And Kyle Shanahan already went on record and said, oh man, Brock Purdy, that's the guy. What did I say about Trey Lance, though? For our United fans. And, you're hating on Trey Lance. Just give him what did I say about Trey Lance? He's a year away from being away, coming from one well-respected exec when he was drafted. So I would stay away from him. Here we are today, 3 years later, right? 2021, 2022, entering year 3. So for me to say they shouldn't draft this quarterback, I'm not going to go out and say I'm not a quarterback whisperer. But I will say there's certain quarterbacks that I will be ranking, and then you guys can do the legwork on who you guys want and then formulate your own analysis. My analysis isn't always right. You guys have a brain too. So I would like you guys to this is a very educational YouTube channel, Raiders channel, right? Like I want it to be centered around the Las Vegas Raiders, but also I want to learn as much from you as you guys learn from me. So you guys also give me good information. Look, we have high school coaches on here. We have college scouts on here. We have pro player personnel. I mean, there's a lot of different people who chime in, right? And you don't know which flavor you're getting in terms of which dynamic they're going to go in. But what you do know is you're getting valued information, right? You're getting valued content, right? You're getting something that you can, hopefully everyone can learn from. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you're watching this and we're 57 minutes and 54 seconds in, and you ain't learned one thing on this live stream, then I'm not doing my job. Now someone's going to chime in like, I ain't learned anything that you said. Jesus here says, no quarterback, no trade-ups. We have the most picks this draft. We can put a pretty good team together. Yeah, absolutely. OKC Raider 405. Haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? Mahalo for joining in and leaving this comment. Not going to lie, first time in a long time. I'm actually excited for an NFL draft, especially with the guys that actually know how to draft, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, I like GM Dave Ziegler. Look, I like Coach McDaniels. I think they're top 5 head coach GM dynamic in the entire NFL. I already ran on record saying it. I'm not afraid to put it out there. Now, again, I am going against conventional wisdom because everyone out there saying, oh, Coach McDaniels is a clown. And you see all the memes up there. And, oh, man, like Ziegler sucks. Like, what is he doing? Should have got James Bradbury, dude. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? Watch the film. How much is it going to cost? And what's the valuation versus evaluation based on giving up the farm financially for a player that otherwise is just a borderline good starter? But you're giving them Pro Bowl money? Come on now. That's just a bad analysis piece right there. Oh, we should have got Javon Hargrave. You see what he got? Would I have been in favor of getting a Javon Hargrave? I would say based on what he got, no. Why? Because again, from a GM perspective and a scouting perspective, there's layers to this. You don't just draft a guy trading 2 5th-round picks, moving up to the 4th round to draft Neil Farrell for him to ride the pine in year 2. You want to see some action, Jackson. All right? So let's see what these guys can do. Because otherwise, you're admitting mistake and then wiping your hands clean like you did with Alex Leatherwood, who wasn't even in your field house anyways because you didn't draft the guy. I like Neil Farrell. I like Matthew Butler. I also like Kyle Peko. Look, I think Kyle Peko should be brought back. I am very high on Matthew Butler, Neil Farrell, because I think what I see when you evaluate the game film, again, both those guys come out of the SEC, Tennessee and LSU. It's not a weak conference, right? It's the Power 5 and it's the SEC, so it's the powerhouse of all conferences. Sorry, ACC. Sorry, Big Ten. Sorry, Wisconsin. Sorry, Michigan. Nebraska's probably upset. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I just think you need to see the growth from year 1 to year 2. And I think year 1 for any rookie is just getting acclimated to the weather, getting acclimated to the lifestyle, getting acclimated to how to prep for the NFL game, right? Every single week, how to practice, knowing how to prepare to practice, how to watch film. Some of these guys don't even know how to watch film coming into the league. I'm telling you right now, they don't. They don't even know what to look for. They're just saying, "Oh yeah, like so how do you film study? I film study. What's that? What? What's that? What do you mean film study? Oh, you watch games? Yeah, like no. Do you watch the coach's film? What's that? What's coach's film? What's all 22? So give these guys a break. Let them just kind of get acclimated first, and then let's kind of judge them. Look, Neil Farrell and Matthew Butler are going to get judged in year 2 by me. Year 1 was kind of like the trial phase. Year 2, I'm going to be, look, these guys are good. These guys are bad. Or these guys, I can see why they drafted them, but there's still work that needs to be done, right? And no matter what, and again, the whole interview, anytime you see my locker room pulse interviews, you know what you're getting. You're getting players that say, you know what, like iron sharpens iron mentality, right? The Raider way. You're also getting those always room for improvement, the Raider way. You can always do something more, the Raider way. First one in, last nine out, the Raider way. High football IQ, the Raider way. Tough, physical, Raider way. Doing what's not asked of you because you know that you have to do it to get it done and be at the top of your game, Raider way. It's going to be interesting. This is all going to be interesting. We're about an hour and 2 minutes and 31 seconds in. If you like what I had to say, give this video a thumbs up. Also share it, retweet this on Twitter right now. It's on Twitter, on live. Just retweet the video. It does me a solid, helps with the algorithm, helps with other like-minded Raider Nation like yourselves to go ahead and push the content forward. Also, we are running giveaways, right? So anybody who subscribes to my social media platform, whether it be on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, right? You guys will be entered for our DOB giveaway, and that includes this NFL licensed Riddell mini helmet. Again, it's officially licensed. You guys can see it right there. Oh, look at that. And what's really cool about this, you can put it in your man cave. You can put it in your bedroom. You can have players sign this thing, right? That's pretty cool. Who else does that? Tell me, who else runs the giveaways? And this thing is $34.99 plus tax. And then I have to ship it to you guys. So it averages out to about $40 for that one thing. And we're giving out 2 of those things. And we are running a contest from now until Friday, the 31st. So be sure to go ahead and like it, retweet the video, share the video on Instagram, do everything in between. And then also you'll be entered and tag 3 friends if you're watching on Twitter in the post. And again, a lot of cool things happening here in the DOB. And the bigger we get, the bigger the prizes. All right, so we got some answers here. All right. My man Jeremy says Spillane or Drew Sanders, Beast. Personally, I want Drew Sanders as the green dot guy. Yeah, I like him too. I like Drew Sanders. I like Spillane. I like Spillane a lot, but Spillane to me will be the green dot guy. That's just my thinking. Antisexo says Beast beat Pressman corner in this draft. Man, Pressman. There's a lot of good press. Everyone would say Joey Porter Jr. is a good press corner. He is scheme dependent because I see a press guy. I don't think he's the best press corner because I don't think he has the oily hips to kind of stay stride for stride with the receiver in phase and then still make a play on the football. I talked about this on Twitter, talked about this when evaluating Joey Porter's game. I just don't see it. So again, watch him be an all-pro as a press corner. Phil Romero says he thinks I'm 165. Jeremy Willis thinks I'm 185. Salvatore Bruno says, Beast, you weigh is 110. My 210 pounds is my guess. I weigh 155 pounds. Muscle weighs more than fat. I only have about 8% body fat on me. And I'm 155 pounds, believe it or not. So when you look at the measurables of a height, weight, speed guy, and I watch some of these NFL analysts and they say, oh man, this guy needs to get bigger, like whatever. I'm like, bro, have you seen his physique? Like, how much do you want him to fill out without compromising that speed? Or this guy is skinny. He is a little bit linear. Let's see if we can kind of bulk him up without compromising that speed. You can't just put a weight on a player and expect that guy to have no drop off in production because there's a fine line there. Simply put, on the flip side of that, just because a guy weighs 185 or 195 doesn't mean that he's not as big or bigger than a guy who's 210 because muscle weighs more than fat. So when you look at a guy, and again, I'm a firm believer in this, but I think what you would want to do is you would want to see the body fat percentage. That's for me personally. I would want to test the guy. If I was at the, getting a guy's measurables or whatever, I would say, okay, what's his body fat? I don't care what is, well, height does matter. Arm length does matter. Okay. All that matters, right? It's a piece of the puzzle. But when it comes to weight, I want to see what his body fat percentage is. I don't care what he weighs at. I want to see how much body fat he has. Like, that matters. Body fat matters. Why? Because more fat you hold on to means you're probably going to be holding on to more water weight too, which is also going to fluctuate. All right. So, well, we got some stuff in here. All right. So we got some Facebook questions up on here. There's a question here on Facebook that asking me for my take on giving GM Dave Ziegler a grade on this offseason so far. And there are players that I felt he should have targeted, but then when I look at the numbers and financials of it, I just didn't see it making sense. Again, I'm not one to go into household names as I am running the grades when grading the snap, not the box score and the landscape of all 32 NFL teams and players. To me, I'm going to give GM Dave Ziegler a B. All right. And that's a very good grade. I don't give pluses or minuses. It's either A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to give him a B, a solid B. I like the Jacoby Myers pickup. I liked how we went out and got guys like Jimmy Garoppolo. I am in favor of that move. I know people think that's a lateral move. I actually like it. And again, maybe because I seen Jimmy Garoppolo, covering him, coming from the San Francisco 49ers. I worked with Jimmy Garoppolo. I know what they're getting. I seen him in the locker room for, how many years now. See how the players interact with him. George Kittle loves, all the best players want Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback, right? That just kind of goes without question. Josh Jacobs needs to get re-signed long-term. I know they franchise tagged him. They need to get it done. And again, I already talked about the valuation versus evaluation on Josh Jacobs, how much he's going to want, how much he's likely going to command, and how much front-loaded money that he's going to actually get. Now, can GM Dave Ziegler and Josh Jacobs kind of meet in the middle on that number? That remains to be seen. But again, you don't franchise tag just a franchise tag because, again, this is not a rebuild with the Las Vegas Raiders, but to say that it's not a, how do I say this? Not a rebuild, but it is kind of like a rebuild, if you will, simply because, again, anytime you bring in a new GM, new head coach dynamic, you're going to have to build up that culture identity from the ground up, and that's going to take some time. That's not a 1 year type of a deal. That takes a process, right, to kind of get on the same page. So again, Give it some time, Nation. I think GM Dave Ziegler is the right man for the job. Time will tell. Oh, Jason says B. I give him a B. Yep. Me too. I give him a B. Egalitarian 207 says, Beast, who do you think Dave Ziegler will draft at number 7? I think he's going to go after and get Peter Skoronski. Now, if Jalen Carter's on the board, I wouldn't be opposed to either one of those players, right? Just going on record saying it. I like Jalen Carter, the second best defensive player. If you're going BPA, Jalen Carter over Peter Skoronski. All right. But if you're going for need meets BPA, and then also without the off-field stuff or any question marks that are tied to him, you have to go Peter Skoronski. He's the squeaker. He's the squeakier, if that's even a word, a squeaky clean prospect, right? Like, so either one of those two players, I would like if they stay at 7. I also wouldn't mind Christian Gonzalez. Now, it's a little bit high for him at 7. I really valued him in the 12 to 18 range in that cluster that I talked about earlier, but I don't think he's going to last that long because, again, when you look at this cornerback draft class, it's not as strong as in years past. So, again, that's a lot of top-heavy guys that are going to be exclamated and shot up the draft board. Phil Ramirez says, Beast, do you think Bryce Young was down the pounding in the NFL? I do. I think Bryce Young will be fine. Now, watch me be wrong. No, look, Bryce Young has the frame to bulk up. He really does. And again, to me, people put stock on the guy's linear frame. But look, he played in the SEC. So it's not like the kid doesn't know. And I'm sure his whole life he's been told he was too small, too skinny. What'd he do at Alabama? All he did was win. Like, I don't care, man. The guy got it done. So if it's not now, the NFL game is a different beast, right? There's guys that are like 400 pounds and run 4 threes, right? People are really going to quote me on that. This BEASTwriter is really horrible. He said that the 400-pound defensive lineman runs a 4-1 40-yard dash. Oh my gosh, better. He's bigger than Deion Sanders and faster than Deion Sanders. Look, you guys get the picture. Obviously, it's a different ball game. The NFL game is a lot faster. You have to go through your progressions a little bit quicker. A lot of disguising on the defense and the spread. It's not a spread formation. These are NFL offenses now. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit different in terms of what Bryce Young brings to the table. I just think Bryce Young is the head and shoulders best quarterback in this entire draft class. If I had the first pick and I needed a quarterback, it's not even a question. I'm going Bryce Young. Now watch CJ Stroud look at me and be like, "No, man, I'm in the Hall of Fame right now, 25 years later." All right. On to Six Soldier says, Beast, perfect middle linebacker to fit Graham's system. I think Robert Spillane is a perfect fit linebacker for Graham's system. I really do. I think what he brings to the table is really good. Now, again, when you look at the off-ball linebacker and you look at the landscape of the other 31 other NFL teams, you tell me which linebackers, when grading the snap, not the box score, don't go off PFF, do your own research. How many off-ball linebackers can actually cover the curl hook assignment? Jeremy Willis says, question with JJ, his previous season until his contract. Question was JJ, he was injured, yes. But you're going to hold that against him? I mean, the guy's still young. He is definitely the heart and soul of the offense. Let's be honest about this. Josh Jacobs is the heart and soul of this offense outside of Davante Adams, right? I think Davante Adams and obviously Josh Jacobs are neck and neck there. Those two guys are the heart and soul of the offense. You cut off the head of the offense, which is the engine that opens up things for Davante Adams and vice versa, everyone's going to suffer. Now, I do like Zeus White, but we haven't seen enough of Zeus White. Again, how do we know what we have or don't have unless we play the guy? And there's just not enough sample size to pull from to have a strong conviction on Zeus White going into the 2023 season as the starting running back. Now, Josh Jacobs is going to be there, obviously, but a lot of things can change. It's going to be crazy. On to Sixers, I said that, but that's what we did with Klee for a couple of years. Here we go. Al Q19 says, is Tyree Wilson an possible option at number 7? I hope not. I am not high on Tyree Wilson. Anybody who says Tyree Wilson deserves to be picked up at number 7, please do yourself a favor. Wrong. When grading the snap, not the box score. No. Really? Now I have Tyree Wilson mocked it. I talked about this on Twitter if you guys follow me. I think Tyree Wilson is going to go to GM John Schneider and Pete Carroll. I really do. I think when you look for an outside linebacker in that 3-4, he has the length that you're looking for. Look, they got guys like Bruce Irvin. That was a surprise pick in round 1 back years ago. I think it was 2012 out of West Virginia. Go check the Beast receipts on that. They make surprise picks. They like Big 12 products, right? Earl Thomas, Texas, right? Russell Okung, right? Offensive tackle, Big 12. So when you look at that dynamic, and then you look at Jordan Brooks, who they also got from Texas Tech, right? You look at what they did there, right? The Big 12, right? They love the Big 12 products. I'm really thinking that they're going to draft Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech at number 5. Now, do I think he's worthy of that selection? No. I had grades on him, talked about him on earlier live streams. I'm not as high on him as other people. And if the Raiders get him, I think that would be a reach. I really do. I really think Tyree Wilson's a reach at 7, big reach at 7, especially considering what's on the board and when grading the snap, not the box score based on the valuation versus evaluation of the pressing needs based on the horizontal board and then cross-checking with the vertical board and then seeing how the later rounds are going to transcend based on how I see the mock draft playing out and the actual draft playing out. You really look at it and say, man, that's a really bad pick. That's a really bad pick. Now watch them draft Tyree Wilson, and he turns out to be an all-pro player. Yeah. All right. Hit that like button, D Menace says. All right. I think that's going to wrap up this live stream. Jeremy Willis says, loves Zeus coming out, but he didn't look good on tape in real NFL games. Possibly he, like JJ, needs more touches to get warmed up. He probably does. Probably does. All right. If you guys are watching on YouTube, like what I had to say. If you're watching on Twitter, retweet this video. If you are on Facebook, share this video, give it a thumbs up, and give it a thumbs up on YouTube as well. And again, we are going to leave no stone unturned when we discuss the NFL draft, when we talk about free agency, when we talk about grading the snap, not the box score. That's one thing you're going to find here is I don't like looking at highlights. Anybody can look up highlights. You don't have to have a brain to do that. Grading the snap, not the box score, is what you really want to do because now you're going to get the meat and potatoes of exactly what a guy does really well and what he doesn't do so hot at, right? What is he? Some things he needs to work on. And then from there, format the analysis on if this guy's a scheme fit for GM Dave Ziegler and head coach Josh McDaniels. These are things that you want to look for. These are things that you actually want to look at. And again, it takes a lot of time before I hop on a live stream. I can hop on a live stream every single day and just throw BS up your butt, but I'm not going to do that because again, I don't want to waste your time. Like I could literally just hop on and just curate content and just talk. And you guys would never know whether I'm telling the truth or not because you don't run the grades, right? Like you wouldn't know. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste your time. So that's why when all these prospects that come out and you guys have grades on them. And again, when I was on Raider Nation Radio, one of my followers on YouTube and Twitter said, hey, look, I need Carl Brooks, man. What's your take on him? So I was like, okay, let me run the grades on that. Hold up. And that was what, a week and a half ago, right? 2 weeks ago. So here we are today talking about Carl Brooks because I ran those grades and I have a strong conviction on Carl Brooks out of Bowling Green. I really like this kid a lot. I really like Dante Stills. The Raiders are probably going to be high on both those players. But again, Jalen Carter, best defensive tackle in this entire draft class. That's not a surprise to anyone. What is a surprise and what would be something that you have to really look into is the off-field stuff. And if you're kind of looking at it for what it really is and then questioning the conditioning, his pro day, and then going back to the film study and something that I talked about when grading the snap, not the box score, was his conditioning. You really got to question why they kind of rotated him in early games, even in the blowout. But when he is on the field, even though it's a small sample size to pull from in some of these games, man, he shows NFL traits that even NFL players on the interior cannot reproduce. So that's what makes Jalen Carter really intriguing. I wouldn't mind Jalen Carter at 7. I would think that would be best player available, and I would be in favor of that. But if Peter Skoronski is on the board, I wouldn't mind either one. So both those guys, if they're sitting there and you want to solidify the trenches, again, I'm all about building teams from the inside out, not the outside in. That's the direction that I think you should go in. I really do. But again, I'm not the GM, so I don't make the rules. Lecho says, get on the show with JT the Brick. Oh, I would if he reaches out to me. Unfortunately, I don't have any pull there because I don't work for the Raiders. I don't work for Raider Nation Radio, but JT does. So if you guys want, and you guys listen to JT, you guys want BEASTwriter on Raider Nation Radio, hey, holla at them, man. So let them know, because they listen to you. You're the viewers, right? You're the viewers. They're going to listen to you either way. So, yeah, I mean, it's not up to me. It's not my call to be on Raider Nation Radio or not. Hopefully I'll be on more. I know Clay wants me on more, but again, it's not my call. But if you guys request it, I'm sure they're going to make it happen, right? So, as long as the demand is there, right? You gotta listen to the people, or not. Jeremy Lewis says, love your content, BEASTwriter. You're the best in the business. Mahalo, Ryan. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And again, I have a lot of fun doing these. I mean, we're an hour and 20 minutes in. There's 36 of you guys watching here on StreamYard. Just give this video a thumbs up. And again, push this content. It really does me a solid when you push this content to other like-minded Raider Nation like yourselves. And no matter what social media platform you are on, just be sure to holler at me and drop a comment, because you're going to be wanting these exclusive Raider giveaways, right? We do Raider giveaway prizes like this NFL license mini helmet. So a lot of good things to come. Like I said, there's nothing that makes my job. How do I say this? I wouldn't be in the position I am without you guys in my corner. So again, I feel like it's my job and using my platform to give back to you guys when I can. And I always done it with the Niners. I give away season tickets to the Niners, my own season tickets. I give away like stuff like this, autographed memorabilia. And it's just it's a small token of my appreciation for all of you. Because again, I think sometimes people get lost in the shuffle of what's really important in life. And for me, I want to, like, my legacy when it's all said and done and my time on earth is done, I want to make sure that I kind of had a stamp or some kind of some kind of mark on your life in a positive light, like whether it be fitness gains or inspirational videos or hopping on a live stream and giving back to all you guys with these giveaways and just having the good vibes only here in the DLB. I think that's what it's really about. And so again, I like I said, man, I'm just keeping my head down. I'm just grinding it out. And I like to post my Beast receipts because, again, more times than not, they check out. Now, am I right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But that's what makes me a beast, right? Like, I'm not afraid to put it out there, and I will call myself out when I get it wrong, which is not very often. But again, it's something that I love doing. Raider Nation that followed me in my first year, love seeing them because, again, it holds myself accountable. When I get it wrong, that's on me. That's on me. I got it wrong. Like when I said that Lester Cotton was the best interior offensive guard in camp, that's on me. I apologize. When I said that Trayvon Merrick was going to be a Pro Bowl player last year, and he wasn't, that's on me. That's my job. So it goes both ways. I like calling myself out, not afraid to do it, not afraid to put my real-time analysis on the line, and then cross-checking that in hindsight. So again, have a lot of time doing this and have a lot of fun doing it as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you had fun. I know I had fun, and we're going to hop back on another Pick 6 live stream next Monday. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I will do a blitz pickup. I'm going to try to get a guest on tomorrow, and you guys will not know who that guest is until a couple hours leading up to the show, because I want to keep you guys engaged on exactly who that guest is, what they're bringing to the table, and how it relates to your Las Vegas Raiders. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a good day. BEASTwriter out.